دایی یه فرصت خوب حالا پشت مدافع خداداد عزیزی توی دروازه گل برای ایران خداداد عزیزی باز هم روی زمین گشت سردار آزمون به توی دروازه سردار آزمون گل به نام آزمون برای ایران
بزنه کریم انصاری توی دروازه کریم انصاری دروازه پرتغال باز شد
علی دایی سام توپ توی دروازه
اشتباه حرکت از کوچان نژاد فرصت برای کوچان نژاد توی دروازه گل برای ایران.
Welcome back to another Goal Bezan podcast. I'm Sina Sadrzadeh. I'm joined by Arya and Mohammed, a new guest on the podcast. How are you both doing?
Thanks very much, Sina. No, I appreciate it, and I'm really glad to be back on speaking about the matches and also here with my good friend Mohammed Ardalani.
Hi guys, really is an honor to be in Goal Bezan. I've been a big follower for nearly 2, 3, 4 years, I think, and it's been many times that I was about to come to the show, but something's come up. But finally, I'm here. Thank you.
No, it's such a pleasure to have you on. It's good for me actually personally back. Like I've missed a couple episodes, so I'm really happy to be back hosting the podcast. And in today's episode, we're actually going to have a few different inputs, which is nice. We're going to first hear from Marijo Tot, Iran's assistant coach, who was on the bench on Thursday. And next will be analysed the Iran versus Syria match, which ended 1-0 for 3 points to Team Melli. And that's the first 3 points of Group A, which is pretty good. The goal came from Alireza Javanbakhsh, pretty good goal. We'll talk about that. And finally, we'll preview the Iran-Iraq game to be played on Tuesday in Qatar. And we'll have some short segments with experts on Syrian and Iraqi football. So it's a very jam-packed episode. I'm really excited to start it. So I guess first, let's go to our interview with Marijo Tot, who Arya caught up with today.
Okay, I'm really pleased to be joined by Iran's assistant coach, Marijo Tot. How are you doing, my friend?
Hello. How are you doing?
All good. Pleased to have you on Goal Bezan podcast. Really appreciate your time. Of course, yesterday, we had a great victory against Syria, 1-0 in Tehran, and also the stadium. Of course, Mr. Skocic and Mr. Hashemian, COVID positive. You were on the bench for the national team. How was that experience for you? And how did the match go for yourself?
To be honest, I was very busy a few days before that game because of this situation of COVID. A lot of people who've been working with the national team were out, so I was busy a lot to prepare first mini camp with the 20 the best Iranian players playing in Iran, and then finally cutting that list and making the final list with legionnaires who joined later on. For me, experience being on the bench is not a big deal because I had hundreds of games as a head coach in 10 different clubs that I've been coaching professionally. But it was a very tough moment for me because we started a very important third qualifying round of qualifications to join Qatar, to join World Cup next year in Qatar. So it was very difficult because we started playing at home first game against Syria. Of course, everyone expected 3 points, but as you saw, in other groups and in our group, a lot of surprises. South Korea draw against Iraq, Japan lost against Oman, and so on and so on. So obviously there is a big pressure on the highest ranked national teams, and it will be a difficult road to finish this competition and be in first two and join the best teams in the world in Qatar.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as I said, the win for us was the most important thing to get the 3 points. First game in the last round of qualification, we We won the game. It was a tough game, very physical match. I want to ask you one thing regarding the match before we go on to some more details of it. Sadrzadeh Moharami didn't play and he wasn't actually available for selection. Is he injured?
Yes, Sadrzadeh Moharami came injured playing for his club Dinamo Zagreb. That's the club I've been coaching 10 years ago. So I called the doctors and they decided and asked us to let him be free because his knee was not right. But in this moment he feels better. He's with us here in Doha and he will be ready for the next game against Iraq.
Perfect. Good to see that happening. Of course, in his place, we saw Jafar Salmani play this game at right back. You could say not his natural position. What was the decision? What was the reason that decision was made?
We had on the bench we had Saleh Ardalani, who was the first time in a national team, and the decision was first pick was Jafar Salmani because he used to play in the national team before. He's a legionnaire, and we knew that that's not his natural position, but we believe that his experience will help us. He worked hard in that game, but obviously we needed the right footer on that side. So decision was on the halftime to change him and put Saleh Ardalani, who did quite good job and helped us to win this game.
Yeah, we were really impressed with Saleh Ardalani, very good, talented player playing for Fulad. Also, regarding the substitutes, Saman Godus was subbed at halftime as well. Can you explain that decision as well?
Yeah, a decision was that we needed a little bit. He played very well first half. What we needed more to open that bus in front of the goal of Syria. We needed more aggressiveness in the middle, and we made decision to put Wahid Amiri inside. Obviously, that was a good decision because after that we started creating some possibilities, and finally we scored the goal.
Yeah, for sure. I thought someone actually was good, but maybe he was cutting the space for Taremi sometimes in the middle. I think finally the thing that's really important to speak about is the performance that of the entire team. How are you pleased with how they played? What will you take from this performance into the Iraq game?
Listen, always can be better. Whenever you play game, you believe that next game will be better. As I said previously, this third qualifying round will be 10 very difficult games with the teams who deserved to be in fighting for the final 4 places for the World Cup. So every game will be demanding. Obviously, it was a big pressure on us, including problems with the players who didn't play for many reasons. We had a lot of injured players. We had Sardar Azmoun with the yellow cards, so it was difficult to make a squad for this game. But as I said, psychological thing was the key point of maybe not that great performance, but I'm very pleased how players were fighting for the national team and how they tried, how they worked hard, and finally deserved to win this game.
Can you just quickly explain the situation for Mr. Skocic and Mr. Hashimian? Are they going to be available for the Iraq game?
At the moment, we are waiting for the results. They need 2 negative results in two consecutive days. We believe that they will be with us here in Doha. As I heard, they will come tomorrow. This is news, last news. So I believe that they will join us tomorrow and be available for upcoming game.
Fantastic, great news. Lastly, of course, about the next game we have against Iraq on Tuesday in Doha. What do you expect? Obviously, we played Iraq in June and we won that game 1-0. Obviously, different circumstances now. I think Iraq have a new manager and they have new players, more legionnaires than before. What's the preparation going into this new game?
We played a few weeks ago against Iraq in Bahrain, and we won that game. That was also a tough game. We played better than them and finally won that game. But next one, which is coming soon, will be very difficult for us because, as you said, the new manager is bringing always new ideas. They also have a couple of new faces in the squad, and we believe that even with all those circumstances, we believe that we have a better team and that we will beat them next game.
We hope so. We hope so. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Tot, and best of luck for Tuesday.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your invitation.
Okay, cool. That was a very good interview with Mario. I guess let's move on to the Iran-Syria game. So I guess I'll jump straight in. On the lineup, Arya, were you satisfied with how you kind of like lined up before the game?
Yeah, look, I think the lineup ultimately is difficult because, as Marijo Tot said, they had a lot of players missing through injury. Of course, Praliganji, Majid Hosseini made the decision that, Kanoni and Shoja both had to start regardless anyway, and they were starting in these last few qualifiers. Sardar Osman was suspended, important player. I mean, they had to play Taremi as a number 9 on his own. And also, the midfield side, not in the best of shape just now physically. He went through a difficult period in the summer. I was told that his club were not able to provide food over the summer because of COVID. And as a result, just naturally, he put on weight. And now he has to try and get it back off. And it's not easy for the coaching staff to start him. So they chose Sarlak. I thought maybe it was a bit of a strange choice because I don't think Sarlak's particularly the kind of player that you're looking for in that midfield. You want someone who can hold the ball and move it around. But, the injury to him happened, which is really unfortunate. And obviously Said came on. And finally, the fullbacks was a really interesting choice. We'll come on to, I'm sure. Jafar Sanamani playing at right back, as we asked. Marijo Tot as well explained his reason for playing him there. And yeah, it wasn't too bad. I just think it could have been a little bit better, but we'll see.
Yeah, you highlighted some really cool points there. I think the trio was a trio that was the up front trio was a trio that hasn't really started before as that combination. I think so. The trio of Zadeh, Rodus, and Alireza Javanbakhsh. And then obviously Taremi playing in front of them. Mohammed, what did you kind of make of that trio and then Taremi in front?
Well, when I first saw the lineup, obviously Sardar is a big miss. We all know that Sardar is our main man, our main goal threat, and with Mehdi Taremi. But and then with Mehdi Taremi, I don't know if you guys noticed, he has a very good link-up play with Sardar. So they know how they play with each other. It's been like this for nearly 4 or 5 years. So with Qudus, I thought he's going to do what he normally does. He dictates the game when he gets the ball. He's really a good playmaker. I believe the game against Bahrain, he completely changed the game. So when he came on, he completely, he was outstanding in that game. Against Syria, I think it's a bit difficult because Syria are more compact. They're very defensive. So they don't really show their qualities because if you're an attacker, for example, front three, and you're facing a team that is playing 6 in the back, they're not really going to show themselves. So this is where the tactician should come from, the manager, and how they should play. So this is why I think Javanbakhsh really played really well, because he was one-on-one with the right back. and he was actually getting the better of him until the right back started getting onto him, I think, from the 70th minute. But I believe out of the front three, Javanbakhsh really had a good game.
Okay, so obviously you talked about the tactics, and the front three and then Taremi up front definitely played a role. In my opinion, it seemed like the tactics weren't really geared up towards Taremi, because obviously he's used to linking up with Azmoun. And I felt like because of Syria's deep line, he was kind of like isolated. He was kind of like the player that was bringing things down, holding up play a little bit. But I felt like his talents weren't really being utilized. I don't know if you agree, Arya.
Yeah, I know. I totally agree. I think Goto's playing as a number 10 in this game. On paper, it seems very good to do that because you've got Sadrzadeh, you've got Javanbakhsh, two very creative wingers, and him in behind. You think that could work, and it did work in aspects. I thought someone had a really good first half overall. However, I think for the team, specifically for the team, I don't think it helped, because although he had an individual game that was good, as a team, I don't think it helped because it was limiting space for Taremi a lot of the time, especially in that kind of midfield area where you want Taremi to kind of have a little bit of space. He's already getting marked by 3 or 4, defenders from Syria. You don't want him to be then in a position where someone is also getting marked by 3 or 4 players in that kind of same zone, creating so much congestion in an area where it's vital to score goals from. And if that's happening, Taremi won't do that. He can't score goals. So by taking someone off at halftime, I think it really helped allow Taremi just have a little bit more space, just to kind of come a bit deeper. And you can see in the goal that was scored, we were able to create a chance in the wide area. Taremi got the ball, lay off for Javanbakhsh, and it's a goal.
56th minute now. And now the chance to break the deadlock. And the Islamic Republic of Iran do it in style. Taremi picking out his teammate Javanbakhsh, and there it is, 1-0. And a well-deserved lead. Slight deflection. A wicked one for the keeper.
If someone was still on, I don't know if that would have happened necessarily. And you could also see someone was getting a little bit annoyed. He had to come a bit deeper to receive the ball, which is not what you really want him to play. You want it to be quite close to the goal most of the time. So for the team, I think it was a good choice to take him off at halftime. And I can see why some fans are frustrated because he's such a good player. But I think for the benefit of the team, I think it was a good choice to take him off. Just one thing, though, I want to speak about Qualifiers. I was actually quite disappointed with, though, in this game. I don't know if you agree with Mohammed. I thought he had a really poor game. And I think a lot of it comes down to his personal form. I don't know if that's something that maybe has happened at his club, but I think he should have went this summer from Charleroi, first and foremost. And I think that's maybe playing on his mind a little bit. He didn't have a bad second half, but definitely overall, he could have been a lot better. I think he made a lot of individual errors that put us in tight areas where we could have done a little bit better going forward. But he still needs to be a starter for Team Melli, but he needs to do better than he was against Syria.
With Zadeh, I always said in the last couple of games, he's been amazing. He's been the star of the show, I always say. But against Syria, I don't know. He was taking risks and he was doing, I think, more than what he should. He can just give a through ball or maybe give a simple pass, but he's trying to basically implement those skills or those things that he was doing in the previous games. And I agree with you, he should have left in the summer, maybe because I believe his wife plays in the same team as him and he feels, I don't know, he's happy to stay I think he's happy and he's to stay at the club. So I think he should move, but you never know. I don't think he started well for his club football, but hopefully he starts getting the assists and goals and a bigger club to come get him in the summer.
What I was going to say is that Zadeh is normally the sort of player that lights up the game. He's normally the sort of player that we love watching. But I feel like in this game, I think the tactics and the team structure let him down slightly, because all the kind of attacks were going down like Javanbakhsh's side. They weren't really going back down Zadeh's side. So many times in the game, especially in the first half, he was coming inside trying to find the ball. And obviously, Qudus is going further back, so there's a bit of space for him to come into. And So there's like a big, flank on the right hand side where he's meant to be, just because he's trying to get the ball, and that's where he's not that like dangerous in the middle. He's more dangerous on the wing. So that's where I feel like, I don't know, the manager should step in and say something, because that shouldn't be happening. Or like I don't know, someone should be shouting to him to get on the wing or to find space there, and then we'll find you. I don't know. Something needs to happen, because he was trying to find the ball in the middle.
I think also it didn't help having a left-footed right back behind him at all. It didn't help at all, because why?
Yeah, completely.
Because
I agree.
you need someone to overlap you. If you're going to be a left-footed winger on the right wing, you need someone to overlap you to let you come inside, or to open that space on the flank for you to come inside. When Ardalani came on in the second half, I thought he was absolutely fantastic. First of all, I'm a big fan of Ardalani. I think he's a really good player anyway, and I think he should have started. I think the coaches should have put the trust in him to start him from the first minute. They didn't, and they put Hassanane. The choice was explained by Marijo Tot in the first part of this podcast. I don't really agree with it. Saying that he's a legionnaire, I don't really think that's a reason why you play someone because he's a legionnaire. I don't agree with that. You play someone because you want the best for the team, and I think Ardalani showed that in the second half, that he's a really good player, but he's also able to impact the game of Sadrzadeh. And when he did that, eventually the goal came from that side, and they were both involved in the goal.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think it makes sense. So let's talk about the goal, I guess a little bit. What did you kind of make of it, Mohammed?
Oh, it was an amazing goal. It's just a shame that it was a deflection, because that just ruined everything. But if that was hit without getting the deflection, I think it would have been an amazing goal. The cross, I believe it was from Shoja, wasn't it?
I think it was a crossfield pass to Ardalani,
and he gave it to Qualifiers. Qualifiers gave it to Taremi. Taremi stopped it. Yeah. So I think that was an amazing goal. I think that's I don't call that an Asian goal. Like, that's probably a European goal. How they score like that, you see how exactly. So for example, like how Liverpool play, Van Dijk gives a cross ball to Trent, and then Salah goes in. So I believe that was an amazing goal, and hopefully Iran gets to do that a bit more often. So like I said, Iran right now under Skocic, we're a team based on moments, how our star players show their qualities instead of tacticians. So hopefully we see a bit more of that in the upcoming games.
Yeah, I think you said something before we started recording, Mohammed, about sort of our structure, our tactics, and our goals and build-up play and all that stuff. There doesn't seem to be much like thought behind it and tactics behind it. It's kind of like the players, and it's their quality that kind of pushes it over the line. And that goal to me kind of looked like that, and that build-up play kind of looked like that to me. It didn't look like it was well worked. It just looked like these players who have been playing together for a while had linked up, if that makes sense. I don't know what you make of that. Maybe like you completely disagree with me.
No, definitely, I agree with you. Definitely, yeah. Like I said, we can look at a couple of teams out there. Liverpool is based on pressing. Man City is based on possession. Qualifiers when we had Qualifiers, we're based on defensive. We're not going to let you pass us. Thou should not pass, But now with Skocic, I feel like the players, I believe that Skocic just says, listen, I'm here to train you. I'm here to do my best, but just show your qualities. You are the best in Asia. All of these Iranian players, from the striker to the goalkeeper, they're one of the best in Asia. So you should go to the World Cup easily. So I believe that gives them the players a bit of confidence. But the tactics, like I said, all the games that Skocic has played, I didn't see any tactics. But we're seeing good goals. We're seeing the players actually showing their talent. Qualifiers is showing a lot of I'll say skillful movement that under Qualifiers we didn't see that much. We saw tactics based on a goal being structured in a way that you can say, okay, now I understand what we're doing. But yeah, I completely agree with you. The goal was based on how our players are and how he's basically saying play for fun, when you play in the park. But that's what they do. They know the tactics from the previous manager, Qualifiers, how to be a defensive component. So if you remember, before Qualifiers, we were terrible at defending. We were a very good attacking side before Qualifiers, but we were terrible at defending. I believe Qualifiers has given us the foundation of defensive attributes. But after that, I think now we're just showing our qualities.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, okay. I'd like to move on to our right back position. I know you talked about it a bit, Arya, but Jafar Salmani started at right back. What did you kind of think about that?
You know, he had a bad game. He had a really bad game. And he played there against Syria in March in the friendly match. For me, it was very evident in that game that he couldn't play there. The reason being is because he's left-footed. You know, and I know you can play the odd foot player on the other flank. I know you can do that, but Jafar Salmani isn't even a left back for me, right? And you're putting him at right back, you know, and he's a guy who's not even playing for his club. He's a guy who, on the last podcast, we were adamant that he shouldn't even be in the squad, but he's starting at right back against Syria in the first qualifying match when you've got Saleh Ardalani, who's had a fantastic season for Fulham under Nekunam. That's the reason why he's been called up. But then why is he not playing? And, you know, the whole thing about, oh, yeah, it's his first call-up and it would be his debut. Then why did you bring him on at halftime? What's the point? Don't bring him on. If you think he's not going to do well, don't bring him on. No point. Because then you're just saying to this young kid that we don't trust you yet. You know, that's not good enough for me. It's the same with Syed Manesh not getting called up. Don't say to Syed Manesh, we're going to call you up and then not call him up afterwards. You have to give a little bit of trust to these players. And I think Mohammed's right in saying that, you know, he is giving these guys confidence and, you know, letting them play. But if you're going to do that, do it the whole way. Don't do it half-hearted. I think Saleh Ardani should have started this game. And I think if he did start, I think we would have seen a lot more good play in the wide areas. But we didn't. And I think Jafar Salmani ruined that for two aspects. He couldn't get forward. You know, every pass that he was playing on his left foot was coming inside, going back to the centre back, to Kanani, or going into Nurullahi. And, you know, that's not good enough. A fullback should be able to pass the ball down the line, get forward, overlap, put a cross in. How many crosses did Jafar Salmani play on Thursday? 0. He didn't play one cross, you know, on his right foot. Absolutely 0. Because he can't do it. So you see that in training and you still play him there. It doesn't make any sense to me, you know. But, you know, it's their choice.
Regarding, let me just add a bit more. I completely agree with Arya, completely. Even another thing is that with Hardani, obviously you can say, okay, he's a new kid in the block. This is the first time he's with Team Melli players. He's probably feeling, wow, mom, I just made it. But the thing is, with Salmani, I don't know why he played, because he just has 2 appearances. I believe his last game was against Syria, and this is his second appearance. So it's not like we put a experience, I don't know, right back to play.
You're absolutely right.
I believe Hardani should have started 100%.
Thing is, like, even if he wanted to play a left foot player there, he could have just played Murad Mohammed at right back. Do you know what I mean? Like, the guy actually, Murad Mohammed used to play at right back for his team in Russia, for Terek Grozny. You know, and he's actually quite decent on his right foot. You know, you could just put him there. Why would you put Jafar Salmani? I just don't get it. Do you know what I mean? But it is what it is.
100%.
Another player that was like a bit questioned was obviously Salak, who eventually did go off with a head injury. It was quite bad to see, actually. A big head collision with Kharbin. What do you make of his performance before he had that head injury? Where's his kind of position within the Team Melli setup, would you say?
For Salak's an interesting guy. He's a guy who's had a good season for Persepolis. But the thing is, with the PGPL, that league doesn't support center midfielders the way other teams in Europe, other leagues in Europe do. A center mid in Iran is a rather useless position, in my opinion, because it doesn't have any benefit to any of the teams in the PGPL. You look at someone like Said. Where did he grow up and play his football? In Spain. He was 16 years old when he went to Spain. No other midfielder, other than maybe Ali Karimi, who's always injured, and Ahmad Nurullahi, who, in my opinion, is a good player, but he could be better. Those, other than them two, there's not really been a midfielder of talent in our national team since Nekunam. There really hasn't. And it's a big shame, because we can't now go another 10 years and still have Ahmad Nurullahi and Saeed in the team. Somebody has to come through, you know. We don't have anyone coming through as a center mid in Iran who can control the ball, control the game. Salak's a player who, you know, this is the kind of way he plays. You know, he has to be aggressive. He has to be, you know, fighting for the ball. And unfortunately, he got injured, you know, but that's not a surprise to me because, you know, that's what he's there to do. And it's a shame that he got injured, but when you saw Saeed come on, it completely changed the match.
Yeah, Mohammed, what did you make of Ezzatullah's impact on the game?
Yeah, like I said, in the second half when he came on, I believe he should have not started based on his weight. So I was quite shocked to see this. But the thing is, in another hand, I'm not, because I don't know if you guys seen it a couple years ago. I saw a documentary based on his home, and his father came and said Saeed Ezzatullahi was overweight all his life when he was a kid. So he's prone to like, I don't know, in Iran they say if you drink water he gains weight. That's what his father said. So I believe he is overweight, probably by 5, 6, 7 kilograms. But he really, wow, I thought he's not going to do what he did previously, but he was amazing. Every shot I remember that the goalkeeper hit, I believe he got all the headers. I don't think he lost any header, and all the passes he gave to Javanbakhsh for him to go through, perfect crossing, perfect passes. So I think he is a very good player, Saeed Ezzatullahi. I think he should be our midfielder. But it's based on him being able to play 90 minutes or 90 minutes plus. You know, that's all I think about Saeed Ezzatullahi, if he can play more than 50, 60 minutes.
Well, I think this time around, I don't think it was so much that he was overeating. From what I'm hearing is that he was actually under eating. And when the season started back up, he started to eat. And when you do that, when you change the rhythm of your eating, it messes up the way your body works. I think that's when you put the weight on. But yeah, you're right. You know, he needs to get the weight back down, and I think he will.
Yeah, because obviously when he's fit, he is, in my eyes, like definitely. Well, he's our best midfielder, and he's probably like one of our top 3 players, like future captain of Iran. I've always said that. I want to talk about our defensive lineup. This was an area that I wasn't very happy with, I'll be honest. So we had obviously Kanani, Khalilzadeh, and then our two fullbacks that we questioned as well. Yeah, what did you make of our defensive lineup? Obviously with Kanani, Khalilzadeh, and obviously Behram van den Goal and our 2 fullbacks. But I really want to highlight our centre-back partnership. I felt like they were really weak this game. I didn't rate them. I thought there was too many holes, too many mistakes. Mohammed, what did you make of our defensive lineup?
Yeah, I kind of understand what you're saying right there regarding the shape of our defensive lineup. As you can see, Kanani and Shoja, they have been playing before, but I don't know. I feel like they're a bit rash in challenging. I believe Shoja should have got a red card in the second half. I don't know if you guys saw it, and we know that is Shoja's capabilities, but to get red card in a game that we're basically winning. But regarding that, I believe it's probably the left back and the right back. Amiri, I don't know. He had amazing game playing left back for Persepolis this season. Regarding the previous games against Bahrain, Iraq, he was really good. But I don't know. I'm just baffled how he couldn't really perform the level that he is expected to perform, even as a left back. Because I believe Amiri is our James Milner. He can play anywhere. He can play striker. He can play goalkeeper. He can play anywhere. And with that, I believe Amiri not playing well. Our right back, I don't know what he was doing. I always say a left footer, left back should be playing left back, not a right back. I hate when, even for England, people are having the same issues. I know some players can do that. So I believe there's an unbalance in our defensive shape. I think if Muharrami plays right back, and I hope Mohammed gets his old form back. I don't know what team he's going to go to. Hopefully he's a good European team just for him to get his confidence back. And I always say Mohammedi and Muharrami in the right back, and centre backs, I really rate Puri Ali Ganji, but it's based on one missing out between Kanani and Shoja.
Yeah, I agree. I think Muhammad is having a hard time right now. Muhammad is really struggling for form. He just seems to be a different player than he was a couple of years ago. Milad, I think he needs to improve. He needs to get better. He needs to get a club. For me, Khalilzadeh had a pretty bad game. He didn't have a very good game. He made a really big mistake for against Syria, who could have scored a goal. Kharbin almost scored, and then Kanoni had a good game. I thought Kani was pretty good. I just think he, as you said, doesn't do some things where you're like, it's a bit shaky here and there, but I thought he played well against Syria. And Vaidami at left back, I don't think he was too bad. I just don't think it helped. In a game like this, I think he's probably better off playing in midfield, which he was when he came on in the second half to play there. And finally, Moharami was injured for this game, as we heard from Marijo Tot. But when he plays, I think the team does well because he's so important to the team. So yeah, hopefully against Iraq we can play a good back four, and we'll see how it plays.
Okay, now before we go on to the Iraq game, let's hear from Wael Albezreh, a Syrian sports journalist for beIN Sports.
Okay, I'm joined by Wael Albezreh, works for beIN Sport. How are you doing, my friend?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Just tell the fans what you do for beIN Sports.
I am Wael Albezreh. I am Syrian sports journalist. I'm living in Qatar. I'm working at beIN Sports channel.
Fantastic. Okay, let me first ask you a little bit about the game yesterday. Iran versus Syria, of course, ended 1-0 to Iran. How was your impression of the match?
At first, I want to congratulate you for the winning. It's important to win in the first round. For us, actually, it was a great game, even we are lost. But because we are now in hard time, because we changed the coach before 3 months of the World Cup qualifiers third round. So the problems, there is no time for the coach to make any friendlies game or any camp for all players who is local players or who is playing out of Syria. So his first match for all players was with Iran. So you can imagine how the coach, how he couldn't put any strategy with the players in normal match. So for the result, it was good. If we compared with the last meeting together, when we lost 3-0 in friendly match before
in March,
6 months. Yes. So I guess with minus like 8 important players in the first one, Omar Soma. So we find or the coach tried to find a good solution for this situation, especially in the defense line. All 4 players, they're playing together for the first time. And as you know, we have a new player who is playing in Greece, Abdurrahman Weiss, on the right back. He did also a good game. So I think with lost 1-0, it is good result to start thinking in the next game.
And of course, what can we expect from Syria into the next round?
Actually, after the first round or the results from the first round, after we can see South Korea who's draw with Iraq, and also Emirates with Lebanon in Emirates. So both of them draw 0-0. So that this result is good for us, even we are lost. So all who watching the match between Emirates and Lebanon, they said Emirates, it's normal team, not big team. Especially they had 4 or 5 players from other nationality. So I thought at first maybe they will be dangerous. Maybe, I don't know. But as I said, when you are playing on your pitch and with your fans and the draw 0-0 with Lebanon, So I guess there is big problem for you and for your coach. So it is a chance. It's big chance for Syria now to start from Emirates game. Actually, I didn't say something. I guess we were lucky, too lucky, because Sardar wasn't didn't play because he's very dangerous player and likes his style. So maybe we were too lucky. So because he is too fast, mashallah. So I guess there is big difference between first and second match for Iran, because as we see the first match, there is no too much solution for your team if Sardar not playing.
Yeah, for sure. We could have scored more goals if he was playing. While I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming on Global Bezan podcast.
Thank you very much.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Okay, now guys, let's talk about the Iran-Iraq game that's coming up. Of course, this is a hugely, massive rivalry for Iran. We've played Iraq on many different occasions. Obviously, the Asian Games game always springs to mind. And Sadr Azmoun's back. So I guess from the Syria game, how do you kind of see it? How do you see our formation, our tactics, our players, our lineup changing going into this game? Arya, I'll start with you.
I think we'll have a stronger team coming out this on Tuesday. I think Mohammed will be back. I think he'll start. Osman will be back. I think Said will also start. So that's three important players starting. I don't know what's going to happen because we'll probably do a 4-4-2 in this game. That will mean that one of Samson, Zadeh, and Javanbakhsh, one will have to be on the bench. I think it will be Samson Qudus that goes on the bench, meaning he'll play Zadeh, Izzatullahi, Nurullahi, and Javanbakhsh across the four with Tariq Min Osman up front. And then I believe Amiri will stay at left back with Khalilzadeh, Kanani, and Mahrami in defense.
What do you think, Mohammed? Do you agree with Arya?
I think you stole my notes because that's exactly what I think is going to happen as well. So yeah, Arya, top. I believe Amiri will start. Mohammedi will probably come second half. He probably put Amiri in midfield and bring Mohammedi in left back position. But other than that, everything's spot on. I think I agree with the team. And Qudus, if it's still 0-0 in say the 60th minute or maybe even in second half about to start, bring Qudus in. Maybe he'll change the game and he can dictate the game.
Yeah, and I think, again, we need to always remember, you can always do 5 subs in these matches. So, not starting the game, I don't think is a big issue because you can always bring players on to impact the game. And we saw against Bahrain how good Samson Qudus was in the second half when he came on. So I'm expecting a lot from someone against Iraq.
It's a big game because obviously they are one of the strongest teams in this group that we're in at the moment, obviously with South Korea as well. They actually drew against South Korea on Thursday in match day 1. What do you think that would do, I guess, from a morale perspective, both for the Iraq players and for the Iranian players? Because it is a very good opportunity to take points away from one of the strongest sides in the group.
I think that is, I think is an advantage. Firstly, they drew against South Korea because I don't know about Sina and Arya. I watched the highlights. I believe they should have. I believe Iraq should have lost at least 3-0 or 3-1. I think 3-0 they should have lost. I don't know how they missed those opportunities that Korea missed. One of it was wow. Like if you watched the highlights, you would have said the same thing. Regarding this game with Iran against Iraq, I believe we should not lose because even Iraq should not lose because they just got a point. Because if they do lose, they got 1 point in 2 matches, and they're gonna feel the the pressure coming up the next games. I believe the next game is in October or November. With Iran, I think we should just not lose. If we lose, it's going to give us a bit of pressure because I believe our next game is against UAE, and it's going to be in UAE and against South Korea, which is we don't know if they're going to give it to us in Tehran or not. So if we do get something from the Iraq game, because I believe it's in Qatar, and I don't know, guys, is it going to be with fans or without fans?
I think it's going to be limited fans, yeah.
Okay, so that gives a bit more pressure because Iraqi fans are, they're up for this game. They're going to scream from their lungs, and I hope Iranians just figure out just to not go ahead of themselves. And you know what happened against Japan and lots of games in the past. Just play the game. You know what to do. Sardar's back. get the 3 points. If not, a point, I'll be happy with a point.
I agree. I think we need to try and get something from this game for sure. But Iraq are a good side with the new coach, with some more legionnaires. It's not the same team we played in June. They're much more legionnaires from before, and a little bit more organization. Okay, they didn't play good against South Korea. I do think their team will get better and better. And you never know, because it's psychology. They want to beat us. They lost to us, and they want to beat us. So we have to go in with a little bit of caution, just to make sure we don't concede that many goals. Hopefully, we don't concede any goals, ideally. And second of all, create as many chances as possible. I think if we can do that, I think Osman and Taremi are too good. They're too good. Let's be honest. They're too good for any Asian team. They are some of the best strikers in the world, not just in Asia. They're some of the best in the world, and they have to be able to score goals for us. Have to be able to, So we expect a lot of them, and if they can go out there and do it on Tuesday, it just shows how good they are and how much better they can be.
I completely agree. So let's talk about predictions. Mohammed, what do you think the score is going to be?
2-1 Iran.
What about you, Arya?
I think also 2-1 Iran. I do think we'll consider a goal, but I think in the end we'll be too strong for them.
I would love to say 2-1. I think it might be 1-1, or if it's a 2-1, it'll be like one of these late goals. I'd love to see us improve on set pieces, because it's something that I don't think we were that strong at. There were a few corners in the Syria game that were just like, a corner, for instance, just went out straight away. I was like, what? Like, a lot of set pieces were wasted, I feel. So it's an area that we definitely need to improve on if we want to get like late goals.
I think the key to victory in this game is just special moments from our players, like Zadeh, from Javanbakhsh, from Izzatullahi. I think something special will happen at some point. We saw again in the last game against Iraq. Something happened. There's a good pass from Zadeh and a good cross from Hoysafi, and we got a goal. Something similar has to happen in this game, because that's really the only way I think we can score goals, unless we start playing like Barcelona 2006, because I don't think we're going to do that.
I completely agree with you guys. And I agree with Sina as well regarding set pieces. Just before him mentioning that, it was in my mind based on me saying the prediction. I don't know, guys, but have you noticed it's just our front line scoring the goals for us? Maybe it's Taremi, maybe it's Quddus, maybe it's Azmoun. I don't quite remember the last time. Yeah, maybe against Cambodia and that, but I mean, like, against good teams, we probably scored from a corner. Like, his set pieces has actually been a struggle for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and it depends how much they're working on it in training as well,
Yeah. Probably a question for another podcast for sure, because we could probably go into it for quite a while. But before we go to fan questions, let's hear from our friend Hassanane Balal from the Iraq Football Podcast, who we couldn't interview due to scheduling, but he sent a voice note to Arya, which we are going to play right now.
First of all, guys, thank you so much for having me back. It's a real pleasure being back, and congratulations as well on your victory over Syria. I think it was thoroughly deserved. For Iraq's game, obviously we drew 0-0 against Korea. It was quite a cagey game. First games tend to be that way, and especially with our new manager. In the last time I was on the show, we talked about how Katanic was unlikely to stay. We were close to getting Carlos Queiroz. We ended up with Dick Advocat, and it's been very interesting seeing the team transition under the new manager. We look at quite a different side in our approach, our IQ in terms of identity, etc. So it is a different looking Iraqi side. I have to say it's also a fitter looking Iraqi side, one that's more organised, and one that's also seen the return of some of the expat players as well, which is something we've been calling out for ages. It's not to the degree that Iran do, where they have players from all across the world. We've reintroduced the expat players into the squad, but I think it's been quite slow for various reasons. Some due to injuries, some due to just difficulties in flying and quarantining, etc. But the squad essentially is consistent of the same faces and some new additions. Most notably, you'll see Amir Al-Amari. He's our new central midfielder. He joined the squad 3 days before our game against South Korea, and he started and played the whole 90 minutes, and he was arguably our man of the match. He's quite a young kid, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's either 20 or 21 or something like that. But hard worker, very, very smart, intelligent player. He's essentially our engine right in the middle of the park, and I think that's going to be an interesting dynamic, seeing how we take on Iran. Now, in the game with South Korea, we sat back, we let them attack us, and we defended deep. And I don't think the same thing will happen against Iran, or at least not to the same degree. I think Iran will have the majority of possession, but I think Advocat will play a slightly more expansive style of football. We're probably likely to see Justin in the starting 11 now that he's had a few days to actually adjust. Same thing with Franz Bodros. And I'd imagine we'll set up in a 4-5-1, similar to what we have been doing in the last few games. So we'll see. I think one of the areas we're going to struggle with is creating chances, given that a few of our key players are missing. Ali Adnan's not likely to be starting. Ala Abbas, who scored the win against Iran in one of our recent games against you guys, he's also missing. But we have Mimi, who should be starting in this game. He didn't feature much in the South Korea game due to him joining the squad late after signing for a European-based team. So yeah, it's hard to predict exactly what's going to happen. I've said this before and I'll say this again. Iran are a very, very good team, and I'd argue player for player significantly better than Iraq. But with games like this, it really depends on hunger, desire, who turns up on the day, who's able to keep their calm and their cool when the challenges come flying in, when the other team's defending deep and you're struggling to actually create any clear-cut chances. So we'll see. I think Iraq do have a chance of getting some points. If I was going to make a prediction, I'd say probably it might end up as a 1-1 draw. And if I'm honest with you, I'll take it. You know, if we could get 2 points from the two first games, and they're arguably the hardest games we're going to face, especially considering our manager has just joined and we've barely had any games under him to iron out the creases, to figure out the difficulties that we have as a squad, etc. So yeah, I think I'm excited for it, but I'm also very nervous, and I think a lot of Iraqi fans are in the same boat. We did really well against South Korea, but we're not kidding ourselves in terms of thinking we're the best team in Asia. No, we know we're going into these games as second favourites, and we need to play around that. So let's see what happens. Hopefully we can frustrate you guys. Hopefully we can defend well. Our main goalkeeper's missing, Jalal Hassan, so that works in your favour. Although Fahad Talib, who replaced him, he's only got 6 appearances now. So it's going to be interesting to see how he copes with the pressure of the game, although he did do quite well against South Korea. So let's wait and see, and hopefully things turn out in our favour. Otherwise, it might end up being a long qualifying campaign, but we'll see. Anyway, thanks for having me on, guys, and wish you all the best. Take care.
Okay, cool. Arya, this is my favorite bit of the podcast. Let's hear the fan questions.
All right, so the fan questions on Twitter, we got one from PCAP for Life 10 from Ashkan. He asks, did our lack of preparation impact our performance? Yes, 100%. I think the preparation was disgusting, if I'm being honest with you. Like, you know, as many times as we saw from Queiroz talking about the lack of preparation, you know, not giving the national team players a good camp before matches, no friendlies set up, nothing, literally nothing. We saw Skocic go to a TV show 2 weeks before camp. He gets COVID. We only have one coach, one head coach. The rest of them are analysts and fitness coaches and physios. You know, it's not good enough, man. Like, what is this? Are we a national team or are we a club? Like, even club teams don't have it this bad. Like, it's not good enough. The preparation has to be a lot better. And I'm disappointed in the federation, if I'm being honest, because, you know, the election happened a couple of months ago and we thought there were some changes, but there hasn't been. Let's be honest, it's the same rubbish that we've had for many years.
Yeah, no, I think that's all we can say. I completely agree.
What else did we get? Rami Zayan, James Bond, they asked that on Twitter. What do you guys think? Should he come back?
It's a good question, actually, and it goes back to a similar question we got a few weeks ago about Jalal Hosseini coming back. I think Rami Rezayan actually got a very good shout to come back right now. I think our fullbacks are probably it's weird because a few months ago we were saying how strong they were, and now we're at a point where we could really use some backup options within the fullback position. I actually think he should come back for sure. Wouldn't be a permanent member, but he would be one of these like wild cards that we would use for some of the games. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Yeah, definitely. I think Rami should come back. Just based on his experience in the previous World Cup and how he's, I don't know, but why I have been hearing from, a lot of rumors that he's a very big, person, like a comedian. Everyone likes him, Ramin Rezayan. So it'll be good for the dressing room. It'll be good for the players, for him to have him around. And obviously, he's not Mahrami for me. He's a starter, but he's got different attributes that Mahrami doesn't have, like his crossing skills, like the way he gives the ball straight to the like Sada. If you guys remember the goal against Yemen. That cross was phenomenal. That Mahdi Taremi headed the ball. So I believe Ramin should come back, and I think he should have a place in the with the squad.
And don't forget as well, like he in the World Cup, he was actually our set piece taker. So when we talk about set pieces, he can deliver those. You know, he was on free kicks and I think he was on corners. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he was definitely on free kicks.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's a good player, but I don't think he will get called up. I don't think it'll happen. I'm not gonna go into why, because I don't really want to, if I'm being honest with you, because there's some politics behind it. I don't really want to go into it, but I don't think it's gonna happen. And I'm happy with Ardalani. I think he's a good player. I think he's a good young right back who can be given the trust to play. Final question from Kurusha Zahednia. He asks, in order for Iran to score more goals, what do they have to do? For me, as we said, set pieces need to be the top of the criteria right now in training, and also wide play. We have to get our fullbacks going forward. We need to ensure that the likes of Nourallahi and Izzatullahi are being disciplined on the ball and creating chances when it's necessary, not trying to always force the pass forward. And we're getting Osman and Taremi into good areas of the pitch where they can influence the game, not areas of the pitch where they're going to be isolated and they're going to be marked by defenders. They have to be in areas where they can actually impact, in channels, in the 18-yard box, in the 6-yard box. Nothing too much outside of that, because that's not where they're useful. And we need to get the ball into the feet of Sadrzadeh, into the feet of Javanbakhsh, as much as possible.
Yeah, go on.
And another thing, just to add on that, sorry, Sina, is take our chances and take it correctly. If you guys remember against Bahrain and against Iraq, I believe we should have scored 2-3 other more goals. I believe that the players should just take more risks in shooting. If you remember, I think Qaidi scored. I don't think he should have scored that goal against Iraq, and Mahdi Taremi had a one-on-one against Bahrain. I think just take your chances and believe in yourself, and I believe we get more goals coming up.
Well, thank you for your fan questions. We really do appreciate it. We love hearing like you guys sending in those questions. So please please send in more. They are like our favorite parts of the episode. So we're going to wrap up there, guys. Thanks again, Mohammed and Arya, for joining me, and of course Marijo Tot and Wael Albezreh and Hassan Balal for their time. Don't forget, we have an article before the game on our website, and also we're going to do another live Twitter Spaces before and after kickoff on Tuesday for the Iraq game. And stay tuned and follow us on all social media and podcast platforms: YouTube, Apple Podcasts, we are everywhere. So please do stay tuned for that. And yeah, that's it from me. My name's been Sina. Been joined by Arya and Mohammed. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Gol Bezan.
Hello everyone, my name is Sadrzadeh and you're listening to the Gol Bezan podcast.